Okay, so we will look into the next question. Analyze John Rawls' concept of social justice in the Indian context. So we have already discussed about what is John Rawls' concept of social justice in our theory areas. Now here it is the question which is asked is Indian context. Now if you remember at that time itself, I have told you they started asking questions directly from thinkers, right? So what we have discussed quickly, if you remember, we have discussed about the concept of justice as fairness, right? So when making any decisions or when taking any decision, it has to be for the greatest good, right? So that is the concept of fairness, and that we have discussed, and we have also discussed about liberty, right? So principles of equal liberty and also difference principles. Some of the people may be treated differently, okay, and people should be treated equal liberty to people, that is also required, right? So what do you mean by this principle of equal liberty? Everybody, right, liberties should be equal amongst the members of society. So that you can see from the Constitution of India, right? Fundamental rights, like right to freedom, right to life, right to liberty, and everything is there in the Constitution of India. So that is one thing. And then difference principle, where you can see in the Indian context, when you talk about reservation, or it is basically what positive discrimination only. SC, ST, OBCs, etc., they are getting reservation in terms of job, etc. So that is using this difference principle. It states that sometimes you have to treat people differently in order to achieve justice, right? So with justice, he introduced these two concepts also, liberty as well as differences. And if you remember, 2 3 times I've told this concept that equals has to be treated equally. That is one concept of justice, right? Everybody has to be treated equally. Equals has to be treated equally. Secondly, unequal has to be treated differently, right? There may be a rich and a poor person, and this is the reason for this positive discrimination. So unequals must be treated differently. That is also an ethical principle, because you need to uplift these people also, right? So maybe upper caste and lower caste, so they are facing some kind of issues, so you have to uplift them. That is also kind of justice. So these are unequals. So unequals to be treated differently, at the same times equals. For example, this section, you can see general category, all of them has to be treated equally. OBC, all of them has to be treated equally, but between them to be treated differently, right? So then what? Then there was one more concept that we have discussed, that is wheel of ignorance, right? All these we have discussed, so I'm not discussing what is this. So this is also you need to answer, right? When any decision is taken, so based on this principle, you can actually take the then that will lead to the fair decisions, right? What is wheel of ignorance? People are unaware about their situation, their age, their gender, their names, what situation they are from. So that is what wheel of ignorance. Then in that context, whatever decisions has been taken, it will be giving justice and it will be fair. So this is how you can apply. And again, your imagination, what you want to write, just remember these are the three concepts: fairness, and then difference principle, and also this wheel of ignorance. Based on that, you need to write an answer in the Indian context. Very simple question, direct one, and it is expected that you will score good mark in this particular question. Okay, the next one, the public service code as recommended by second ARC commission. See, this is something which you cannot bluff. If you have read, then only you can actually answer. But still, we had some discussion about some of, you can make some guess also, like if he is talking about, if the second ARC is talking about the public service code, we have discussed some of the qualities of civil servants, right? We have discussed about Nolan principles. So what you feel like the best among them, you can also take it, in case if you have not read about this. What do you think? Do you think impartiality will be there? Impartiality will be there, right? Political neutrality or non-partisanship. That, even now I'm talking about a situation where you might not have read specific to this, but still you should be making an intelligent guess, and you should be in a position to write this question in general. It doesn't matter exactly the same things has to come here. You can make a guess that impartiality, this has to be there. Objectivity, right? So objectivity has to be there. Non-partisanship, if you remember yesterday also we have discussed. Don't you think dedication to public service? So this is how you can make a guess in this particular question, and you can explain that devotion to duty, empathy, compassion. Okay, going with the procedure established by law or rule of law, right? Upholding constitution. All these is what in general you can write, and nobody can tell no for that. Now, otherwise, specific, this is something which you need to read. I've told you already that you should be dealing, right? So actually, second ARC stated a comprehensive civil service code, and it comes up with 3 levels: values and ethical standards, and then there is a code of conduct, and then there is a code of ethics. So what is code of conduct and what is code of ethics? We have seen this also as a question: what is the difference between code of conduct and code of ethics? And we have discussed that in detail in one of our previous question paper itself, right? What is code of conduct? What is code of ethics? These code of conduct, if you see, these are rules that guides the procedures of an organization. And when it comes to civil service, I've told you this central service rules, right? Center service conduct rules of 1964. That is a code of conduct. Now actually there is no code of ethics in India, so that is the reason why actually ARC recommended, okay, to uphold the values of constitution and the constitutional spirits among the civil servants. So if it is to uphold the values of constitution and the constitutional spirit, then what is the most important point that you need to write there? You have to say that it has to be based on establishing or following the procedure established by the law or rule of law. Okay, so rule of law, you can talk about procedure established by law. Then other common points that we have discussed, we have discussed this separately also. If you remember, when I discussed about Nolan committee recommendation, immediately after discussing Nolan committee values of civil service, I've talked about civil service values according to second ARC also. So you can add from there also, like impartiality, objectivity, non-partisanship, and out of these two we have discussed even yesterday also, what is impartiality and what is non-partisanship, right? And then obviously empathy, compassion, accountability, transparency. Okay, so these are the answer. Now if you need to, you can explain this further. Otherwise this is fine. One or two you can take and you can explain, and you can also tell the examiner that why this particular value is actually required for a civil servant. Okay, next one, very subjective question. Corruption causes misuse of government treasury. So how is it affecting the government treasury? Administrative inefficiency and obstruction in the path of national development. So I think this is something which you can directly write. You know how corruption is actually going to affect the national development. Here what they're asking is discuss Kautilya's views. Again, this was a tricky question. Some of you might not be knowing about this, but even if you don't know about this, just keep silent on this aspect and you start writing about this. You don't want to mention anything about Kautilya in your answer. They will presume, see, it is actually going to be very general only. Now what I'm saying is, in case if you have not read about this, and it is impossible for us to do all these work, okay, so in case if you have not read about that, you don't want to leave this question, you have to attempt. See, this area is something which you can elaborate in detail, whether it is Kautilya or anyone, it is ultimately you need to write, and it is a very general question. So what Kautilya will say is actually it is going to affect this unethical practices and inefficiency in the system. If corruption is there, if corruption is tolerated, and it will totally affect the administrative machinery or the mechanisms, and it will promote unethical practices into the system, and also that will lead to inefficiency of the system. This is what Kautilya's views. That is also very general, and that is the reason why if you find any such kind of things, even here also, it looks very specific, but still you can make it general. In a worst case scenario, you have to make it general and you have to write an answer. Now one by one, if you want, you can take how is it going to affect the or misuse of government treasury, and how it lead to administrative inefficiency. You can say it affects the administrative inefficiency. And then you can write maybe 1 or 2 bullet points why it is and how is it going to affect the administrative inefficiency, right? It Corruption breeds corruption. That means there is a corrupt activity which will be followed by another corrupt activity. Then it will be a vicious cycle. It keep on continuing. So definitely that is going to affect the administrative inefficiency. And what will happen, even it will affect the morale and the motivation of the honest civil servant also. So only those who are corrupt is getting rewarded and others are actually getting punished even for the good things that they are doing. That means it is going to create administrative inefficiency. And it will also affect this accountability, transparency systems, right? And it will also increase the administrative burden in terms of cost and other expenditure. So all these is what you can write as administrative inefficiency. Secondly, misuse of treasury. How is it actually going to happen? Misuse of treasury, because taxpayers money is actually misappropriated, no? And this will become black money. Okay, so this is unaccounted money. Unaccounted money means you cannot pay tax upon that. So the money that you are getting through corruption, it is not tax money, so it is actually black money. Now if black money is circulating in the market, what is going to happen? Money supply will increase. Now this is not only treasury. Treasury, it will be affected. And how is it actually going to affect the people if money supply is increasing in the market? If money supply is more, see, uh, the goods is remaining the same, right? The goods and service, or whatever it is, the products which is there in the markets, which will remain the same, but money is increasing, money supply is increasing. So what will happen? There is a situation of too much money chasing too few goods. Earlier, let's say MS1, and now MS1 is actually increased. So let's say it was 100, now it is 110. Now earlier 100 was chasing, now 110 was chasing. What is this situation called? Too much money chasing few goods. What will happen now? What will happen
Inflation.
is inflation. This will lead to inflation, and that is going to create problem. So that is also administrative inefficiency, because for that to tackle that, there are a lot of exercise which is required. Like RBI have to interfere, government have to interfere, fiscal policy is required, monetary policy is required, and all these administrative things has to be taken care, and all these involve too much of expenses, right? I hope this is clear. For example, I'll just 1 second, guys. So let's suppose there are, let's say, 100 goods are there. Okay, now let's say some 700 rupees the money supply in the market. Now because of corruption, the money supply is increased, let's say 1,000 rupee. Okay, now this 100 items, this is a items number of items. Okay, let's say pen or anything, only this is what they're in the market, imagine. So this 100 items is actually chased by 700. So what is the price of one item? 7 rupee. Now what is this 700 become? 1,000. Why this addition? It is because of corruption. What is this? It is black money. So this 1,000 is now chasing 100. So what will be the price? 10 rupee. So who will be getting affected with this? The poor person. See, 7 to 10, this is what inflation. So who is getting more affected? The purchasing power of the poor people will be affected very, very badly. So that is why you can say that will affect the treasury, that will affect the administrative inefficiency, that will definitely affect the national development also. I hope this is clear. And based, this is again your views, guys. You need to write in better way, more than this is the idea. So you need to develop on this. You can also say government have to take various measures for this. Government have to deal with interest rates, policy rates, which will also affect. See, what will happen if the reverse repo and all these things are increasing? It will affect the supply, right? It will affect the overall development, because interest rate is increasing means borrowing money will become more costly, so investments will come down. Investment will come down means supply will come down, and automatically it will affect, right? It will affect the country very badly. It will affect the employment situation also. It will lead to unemployment. So it's all your knowledge in other areas also which you have to extend here. So understand corruption lead to black money, and you can also talk about the problems with respect to black money. And government have to take care of various mechanisms like demonetization, that kind of exercise. Everybody is getting badly affected, right? So, and also if you're not paying tax means welfare programs of the government will be getting affected. So it will all compromise the national development. So I hope you can write about this. There is no need to discuss too much about that. It doesn't matter this point, even if you are not talking about this, even Kautilya is also saying the same thing only. Actually, what Kautilya is saying this, okay, what Kautilya is saying this, it will affect the it will promote unethical practices, and it will affect the government administrative machinery, and also create inefficiency in the system. Next one is a very simple question. There is nothing to study for that. How could social influence and persuasion contribute to the success of Swachh Bharat Abhiyan? See, for everything, why you want to become civil servant? It is mainly because of social influence, right? Okay, so social influence have major role to play with respect to individual's perspective, how an individual is developing. So how an individual is complying or following this rules and regulations and the norms and values of society. So the social influence, which can be family, it can be religion, it can be a society, it can be a peer group. So for all these have huge impact, and it is which is having a huge power of influencing the individual. So social influence is something which has to be used very well. Like entire society has to be motivated to follow the this proper sanitization, right? And automatically what will happen, everybody in the society will do that. And for that, what you can do, like you can, that is the reason why all these advertisements using the celebrities and all, when the celebrities are coming and saying something, that will become part of the culture, right? Culture means then that will create a social influence. If 10 people are following, rest of the 30 or 40 or 50 people will also follow the same. So that social influence is going to play a very key role in Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. Secondly, what is persuasion? Persuasion is all about, we have discussed this many times again, it's all about convincing people in a positive way, right? So you can convince and you can talk about the bad side of open defecation, and that will actually promote Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. Very general question. I don't think that you will face any problem over there also. 2 3 times I've discussed about this in our previous discussions with respect to this question, question number 5. Law and ethics are considered to be the two tools for controlling human conduct so as to make it conducive to civilized social existence. So here we are talking about law, the role which is played by law, and the role played by ethics for the civilized social existence. So you just need to tell how ethics is helping the human beings in the society, and how law is also trying to ensure the good behavior of human beings in the society, right? So you can tell what is law and what is ethics first. Now I'm not answering this part because we have done this many times. What is ethics? There's the expected behavior, right? And what is law? This is something which is codified, right? So this you need to explain. And then how law achieving its objective, how law can give a civilized social setup. So law will create a deterrence, right? If you break the law, what will happen? There will be a legal action, and that you have to face the prosecution and all these things. So it will restrain you from doing something bad which is going to affect the entire society. On what way ethics will help you to do the good? Ethics will actually the guiding principles, right? So it is directing the human life and human actions, will give a meaning to the human life and human action. So in that way, ethics is a rightfulness and wrongfulness, right? What to do and what not to do. So nobody's going to punish you for that, but individual will be guided by his own morality and his ethics and all. So that way also it is going to help to form a civilized social setup. And for that, determinants of ethics and all this we have discussed, sources of ethics, everything we have discussed, family, religion, educational systems, peer groups, everything we have discussed. So you can incorporate all those contents here also. Okay, now law, how it is ensuring, it is through deterrence. So because you will be punished, right? So ethics, no such deterrence, but this will be internalized. There are something which is going to be or getting internalized with the help of family, parents, the good values like truthfulness, integrity, honesty, non-stealing, all these values will get internalized. Law will prevent those crimes like murder, theft, rape and all those things. So the combination of this two. Now there is this one which we have discussed in the context of Mahatma Gandhi before, if you remember. This also you can write here. This is legal or law, and this is ethical. What we need is actually the maximum overlap between law and ethics. There are some cases where things are legal but not ethical. Like I've given you example, marital rape. You cannot punish, right? This is legal. You cannot punish under 376. It is not rape. Marital rape is actually not rape. You may be, if the wife is complaining, you can punish for only for some domestic violence or 498 or any other hurt or something like that, but not for 376. Similarly, something may be ethical but not legal, like Mahatma Gandhi, right? We have discussed about civil disobedience movement, violating the law, right? So that is ethical. And Mahatma Gandhi, when he was presented in front of the magistrate, also made the statement that what in law looks like illegal may be, or actually, the highest moral responsibility of a citizen of the country, as the citizen of the country. So something which is ethical may not be legal. Something which is legal, afspa, forget about marital rape, afspa, I have given you this example also. Legal but ethical, it's not ethical. So what we need, maximum overlap is what required between law and ethics. That dimension also you can bring into this answer. Okay, so next question. Our attitude towards life, work, and other people and society are generally shaped unconsciously by the family and the social surroundings in which we grow up. So here we are talking about family, and the social surroundings include the educational system, the religion, the peer group, and everything. Okay, some of these unconsciously acquired attitudes and values are often undesirable in the citizens of modern democratic and egalitarian society. Discuss such undesirable. See, till now, if you remember, we were talking about what are the various desirable values, what are the good virtues, what are the foundational values of civil servants, right? But here they are asking you like undesirable. So, what is not desirable? Like stealing, telling lies, right? And this materialistic conception of society, objectification of women, you whatever is not good you can write here. Okay, so undesirable in the citizens of modern democratic and egalitarian society. Discuss such undesirable values prevalent in today's educated Indians. How can such undesirable attitudes be changed? So here they're asking about attitudinal change, and I have discussed about this also. How can you change attitude? I have told you about reward punishment theory. I've discussed about Pavlovian conditioning theory. I've discussed about the persuasion, right? So that you see the theories we have discussed, and you need to incorporate based on the situation and the context. And socio-ethical values considered necessary in public service be cultivated in the aspiring and serving civil servants. So this is having different dimension. First, you need to talk about the undesirable values and how this can be changed, how the attitude can be changed. So the attitude is A. How can it be changed to A dash, right? And socio-ethical values. So do you want me to discuss this? This is a very simple one actually. So what all things you can write here? You think that the success is all based on making money. So this is something which is uh, you know imbibed on the students and the people. So that is also the materialistic conception of society and materialistic pleasure. This is one of the most important reason for all the problems that is actually happening. Even the corruption also because of that, stealing also because of that. Everything is basically because of materialistic conception, materialistic skepticism, where material goods are actually given more value than the good soul or than the good individual and everything. So that is something which you can write. And apart from that, you can also write modernization. Okay, no need to write modernization. You can write about westernization. You are blindly following the Western culture. That is also not necessarily good, right? And then you can also talk about this objectification or the commodification of women, and then corruption. Corruption is also because of the same first problem that we have discussed, materialistic conception. And then what else you can write? Corruption, nepotism, drug addiction, alcoholism, drink and drive, radicalization of educated youths based on various ideologies. Okay, so all these are the issues, undesirable things. Now, these are, you can say, these are unconsciously getting into the minds of the individual, right? Nobody want to do it really, but unconsciously is actually getting into the minds of individual. What you can do here, how to solve this? Persuasion is something which you can write. Attitudinal change, and for that we have discussed, you can write about that. Behavioral change, what can be done? Code of conduct you can talk about, code of ethics you can talk about, right? Performance appraisal things you can talk about. The civil servants who's having honesty, integrity, they must be rewarded. Okay, that you can write in the context of reward punishment theory. So that's it. It's a very simple one. Okay, very general question related to anger. Anger is harmful negative emotion. It is injurious to both personal life and work life. So it is going to affect you personally also, like your personal life. You talk about anything personal, your personal life will get affected, and also the work life. If you are angry, nobody is going to listen to you. Your subordinates also won't respect you. You will create problems with respect to your superiors also, right? And you may not be able to communicate to the people also properly. So it is definitely going to affect the public life as well as personal life. In terms of your family life will get badly affected. Discuss how it leads to negative emotions and undesirable behaviors. How can hit the managed? How can it be managed? How can it be managed and controlled? So how can you control, manage the anger and emotions? Subjective answer. You can write this, right? When you are angry, you take decisions which is which is having, you take emotional decisions, not objective decisions. So in that way your work life will get affected. You will not be taking proper decisions, and you will not be getting respect from the subordinates, and also you will face problem again in future from the superiors. All those you can write. Your decision making power will not be good, right? Proper reasoning will not be there, and objectivity will not be there. So how can you manage and control emotional intelligence? You should be in a position to manage and control your emotion, not only your emotion, but at the same time emotions of others. You can also talk about regular meditation, yoga, and all these things, but emotional intelligence is what you need to focus more, because that is anyway part of your syllabus. Max Weber, I think, yeah, I have discussed in 2017 question also, the procedures according to Max Weber. Max Weber said that it is not. See, if you see in this year paper, this 2016 paper, you won't see this like this in any other year. What you can observe is, like, they're talking specifically about Max Weber, they're talking about John Rawls, right? And also second ARC specific questions you can see. But even though these names are there, but you can make it general, right? That's how, if you have not read, still you can score just by making it general. The spelling is not correct. Weber. Max Weber said that it is not wise to apply to public administration the sort of moral and ethical norms we apply to matters of personal conscience. It is important to realize that the state bureaucracy might possess its own independent bureaucratic morality. Critically analyze the statement. So Weber's concept I have discussed in 2017 question. So for Weber, the ethical attributes of good bureaucrats, what are they? You have to strictly adhere to the principles of rule of law and the procedure. Okay, so strict adherence to the procedure is very important for any bureaucrat, and also commitment to the public office. That means, in another language, you can put it in ARC recommendation, that devotion to duty, right? Commitment or devotion. Okay, then proper procedural decision making, etc. So these are the attributes, ethical attributes of good bureaucrats. Now that you can critically analyze based on the question which is asked. Now, what are the advantages in this context? when this procedures are followed, when rule of law is followed, when there is a proper subordination and superiors and a lower level, that hierarchy that is also there, when that is there, the proper decision making will happen, proper accountability will be there, horizontal as well as vertical accountability will be there, right? It will prevent chances of corruption, nepotism, all these will be very less. It will enhance efficiency. When hierarchy is there, it will enhance efficiency, transparency, accountability, reduce corruption. Okay, all these are the advantages, and it promote innovations and all these, you can say. Sometimes because of this hierarchy, it suppress innovation also, because you have to follow the superiors. And in that context only we have discussed that, right? In the context of discipline, yesterday 2017 we have discussed that question. See, the next one is case study that we will discuss from next session. Here this Diwali crackers are going on, so I'm not able to concentrate and discuss this. So much of noise is coming. We will stop it here and we will continue from tomorrow. Any doubts here from the theory part that we have done? Theory, if you see, what you can understand is we have discussed almost all the concepts, and there is nothing which you will face difficulty in exam. So that is what I want to tell you. And we will solve one more year, 2015 also. With that, you can understand everything that we have covered, and maybe 2-3 case studies, and we can wind up. Anything you want to ask me? Any doubts here?
Sir, hello, sir.
Yeah.
So even for specific questions, if we use some generalized answer, so will it fetch us marks, sir?
It will, because you have no other way. You cannot make it specific if you don't know. You
Yes, sir.
see, even John Rawls concept also, you can make it general just by knowing social justice. But again, social justice, here you can talk about fairness, but this is something which you have to know. And in fact, we have discussed this in the class, the wheel of even if this question was not asked, still this will be taught in the class. This is something which you cannot ignore.
Okay.
But this Kautilya's views and all, it is impossible. So much of such views are there, but this you can discuss in general. They're simply asking about national development.
Okay. Yes, sir. So, but I mean, in case if a specific, like strictly specific question comes, so it's okay, sir. Okay.
It's okay. You have no other way.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
You have to do that.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.